So today I'll finish my topic on errors of refraction. I'll be talking about astigmatism. Okay. So time and again in my lectures we've been focusing on this diagram. So what happens in this case is that in an electron, rays of light coming from infinity after getting refracted from cornea and lens will form a point focus at the retina. This does not happen in case of astigmatism. So what is astigmatism basically? Astigmatism is an error of refraction wherein parallel rays of light will come, they will get refracted in the cornea and the lens and they will not form a point focus in the retina or a punctate focus in the retina. Instead of that, they are going to form some focal lines. Okay. So why does this happen? See, if we talk about the structure of cornea, it's actually a prolate structure. Okay. So what is basically a prolate? A prolate is an ellipsoid structure wherein the vertical and the horizontal diameters are not equal. The vertical diameter is a little bit steeper and the horizontal diameter is a little bit wider. So in case of human cornea, this vertical diameter is 11 millimeters. However, this horizontal diameter is 11.75 millimeters. Okay, so this is not a perfect spherical structure. So what will happen is the rays of light will get diffracted differentially in different meridia because one of the meridian is more steep and the other meridian is more wide. However, this problem is curved in our eye with the help of a pupil. So what happens? Because of the pupil only some rays can enter and because of that the surface of refraction which is actually rendered to us is a sphere. Okay, so only some rays are able to enter and this overall prolate structure does not create any problem in the human eye. Okay, however, this does not always happen. Sometimes this central structure through which the light is coming from the pupil, this central structure only may be a little bit flatter or a little bit more steeper. So what basically will happen is that the structure which is presented for refraction can be either a prolate structure or it can be an oblate structure. Okay. In this prolate structure, the vertical is steeper. Okay. And in this oblate structure, this horizontal is going to be steeper. Right? So, in case of astigmatism, the refractive surface, the cornea or the lens is not basically correctly spherical, rather they can be prolate or oblate structures, as a result of which the parallel rays of light which are coming are not able to form a point focus, rather they will form a focal line. Okay, so what will happen? Suppose this is my cornea, this meridian is more steeper, so because of refraction, this meridian will have a focus maybe somewhere here and this meridian will have a focus maybe here. So what will happen? The image altogether is going to be a little blurred. It's not going to form a sharp image the way it forms in case of an electrode. Okay. So now I'll give you a very important concept of Strum's conoid. We've often heard about Strum's conoid and to some of us it's a little confusing. So why is it a little confusing? I'll demonstrate to you. And I hope that all our doubts are clear after this. Okay. So suppose this is my cornea. Okay. And considering that the vertical meridian is a little bit steeper, the rays of light are coming to focus here. Okay. After coming to focus here, they start diverging from this point. Okay. Now, if I speak to you about this horizontal meridian, since this is more wider, what will happen is that these rays will somewhat come in focus maybe here, and after focusing here, they will again start diverging. Okay, so there's one focus here and there's one focus over here. Okay, So the interval between these two will be called the focal interval of strum. Okay. So this is the vertical meridian which has formed a focus here, and this is the horizontal meridian which has formed a focus here. So can we call this point somewhere here A, and for the time being we can call this point B. So just to understand better, I got two more diagrams. Okay. So as we all know that in this case the rays of light are getting focused in front. So this is myopia, and here the rays of light are getting focused behind the retina. So this is hypermetropia from previous discussions. So now coming to this point A, is we know that rays of light, this is one meridian, this is one meridian. So rays of light in both meridian at point A have not come to focus. So both of them are converging. So we encounter a situation wherein the rays of light have not focused and they are going to focus later. So this is actually hypermetropia because of the rays of the light over here are going to focus behind this point. Okay, so this is hypermetropia here. Now since both the meridia are hypermetropic, so we can call it compound. Okay, and since we are talking about astigmatism, we are talking about two different meridia, so it will be compound hypermetropic astigmatism. Okay, so this at point A, this is called compound hypermetropic astigmatism. That means that suppose if the human cornea were here, okay, they were at a point here, so the refractive error would be compound hypermetropic astigmatism. Okay, so if the retina was here at point A, we would have had a refractive error which is compound hypermetropic astigmatism. Okay, suppose I talk about this point B. Okay, so in this point B, I know that the vertical rays have come to a focus. Okay, so at this point, because in the vertical meridian, we can call this eye emetropic because they have come to focus. However, the horizontal rays have still not come to a focus. So they are still converging. So again at one meridian, again there is hypermetropia, and in one meridian there is emetropia. So we can call it a simple hyperopic astigmatism. Correct? Now if I was to be talking about, suppose I consider this point as D. Okay, so if any of the points between this point and D, there will be a situation whereas one of the rays after forming a focus are diverging while the other set of rays are actually converging. So we encounter a mixed situation over here. So can we call it mixed astigmatism? Okay, because one of the set of rays are converging while the other set of rays are actually diverging. So the points between this B and D will be actually mixed astigmatism if the retina is placed at any of these points. Now also there will be one situation at this point C wherein the number of rays which are converging, the amount by which these rays are converging and the amount by which one of the rays are diverging is equal. So that point will be called my circle of least confusion, or it is also called the circle of least diffusion. So what is the significance of this circle of least confusion or diffusion? This point, if the retina is placed at this point, it will give rise to minimal symptoms and it will form the sharpest image in cases of astigmatism. So suppose if I have mixed astigmatism, I have the least amount of symptoms and I have the sharpest image if I have this kind of astigmatism. So also when we are trying to correct this refractive error, we are trying to give spectacles to this patient, we actually are aiming to put the retina at this point That is the circle of least confusion or diffusion. So you must remember, if you also get an MCQ, the patient is least symptomatic if it is a mixed astigmatism. Okay. Now coming to another point D. So suppose we're talking about this point D, we know that now the horizontal rays have also come to focus at this point D. Okay, so the vertical rays had already come to focus at B, and now the horizontal rays have also converged and they have come to a focus. So one of the set of rays are diverging and one of the rays have already converged and formed a point focus. So in one meridian again it is ametropic, however in one meridian now it is myopic. Okay, so now it will be simple myopic astigmatism. Okay, so it is now simple myopic astigmatism. Now after we move past this point D, again when we come to point E, now the rays from both the meridia are actually diverging. Okay, so they've already come to focus. So the rays have already come to focus. The retina is at point D. So again now it will be, point E is going to be compound myopic astigmatism. Okay. Now all of these are MCQs for you. Okay. All of these questions which I told you, they'll ask you the definitions of all these and what is the focal interval of Strong. Okay. This is what is your complicated Strong sconoid. Now after this we are going to classify astigmatism in different ways. There are many ways in which we can classify astigmatism. One of those ways is when we talk about the etiology of astigmatism. So as we all know that we have two refractive surfaces in the cornea, in the eye. One of them is the cornea and the other one is the lens. So obviously etiology wise I can have a corneal astigmatism. Okay, and I can have a lenticular astigmatism. Okay, corneal wherein the curvature of the cornea is not spherical, it is either oblate or prolate in the central portion. Okay, or lenticular astigmatism can be further classified. It can also be due to curvature. It can be due to position. Position wherein the lens is a little bent. It is either a little subluxated or it is actually dislocated. So you know the position. So the rays of the light, they are coming and they are getting focused. They are not able to focus. They are not able to want point focus. Rather, they will form focal lines because of the position of the lens. Or it can be due to the refractive index of the lens. In that case, it is going to be called index. So this happens in cases of early stages of cataract where the lens is different. Lens will have a different refractive index in different meridians. So that is when your index lenticular astigmatism happens. Okay. The most common amongst them is corneal astigmatism. The lenticular astigmatism is also common. However, in most of the cases, this corneal astigmatism will counteract this lenticular astigmatism. Meaning that suppose if we have corneal astigmatism in one meridian, it will be counteracted by the lenticular astigmatism in the meridian opposite to it. So it will basically neutralize the astigmatism. Alright. So this is the etiological classification of astigmatism. There's another way also how I can classify astigmatism. Okay. So there's something called regular astigmatism. Okay. So when we talk about our normal cornea, I've already told you that the vertical meridian is steeper and the horizontal meridian is wider. Okay. So this is the steeper meridian. But the vertical and the horizontal meridian is perpendicular. Okay, so both these meridia are actually perpendicular to each other. So that is why this is called regular astigmatism, where the two principal meridia are perpendicular to each other. Okay. Now this is called with the rule when my cornea is following the natural rule, that is the vertical meridian is steeper and the horizontal is more wide. However, if this happens vice versa, that is the horizontal one becomes steeper and the vertical one becomes wider, then it will be called against the rule astigmatism. Okay, so that means this is not in accordance with the nature's rule. That is why it is against the rule astigmatism. Alright, so this is regular astigmatism. Another one is oblique astigmatism. Oblique astigmatism is something wherein the meridia are perpendicular to each other, but the principal meridia are not actually 90 and 180. They are perpendicular to each other, but they can be somewhat maybe like 45 or 135. They are perpendicular to each other, but they are not 180 and 90. Okay, so this is oblique. The last one is irregular astigmatism. Okay, so what happens in irregular astigmatism? There is the meridia are not perpendicular to each other, and there is a different curvature in each meridia. So the curvature will keep changing in different meridia. So that is irregular astigmatism. Irregular astigmatism usually happens in cases wherein you've had a corneal ulcer or you've had a keratoplasty, after which the curvature of the cornea becomes very, very irregular. So that is what happens in your irregular astigmatism. Okay. So these are the various ways how you can classify astigmatism. Now, how will the patient present to you? Obviously, it's a refractive error, so the visual acuity is not going to be 6/6. The patient will have difficulty in focusing. So the first problem which the patient will come to you with is that they will have a defective visual acuity. Okay. Also, they will have asthenopic symptoms. And to your surprise, the asthenopic symptoms will be more in cases of low errors. So why this will happen? This will happen because in that case, the patient will be continuously trying to use accommodation to put the retina at the circle of least confusion or diffusion. So the patient is constantly, using the accommodation to put the retina at the circle of least confusion, continuously is having spasm. That is why the asthenopic symptoms will be most in case of low refractive errors. Okay. So these are the symptoms the patient is going to come to us with. So what are the signs of this? So when you try to do retinoscopy, you will find that different meridia have different curvatures, different meridia have different powers. So one thing you can do is retinoscopy. A retinoscopy will give you an idea that a patient has astigmatism. You can do something which is called a keratometry. Okay, so keratometry is an investigation wherein you can numerically find the curvature of the cornea in different meridia. So that is why you can do keratometry in these patients. Keratometry can also be digitally done with the help of topography, where you can actually get a map of the topography of the cornea. Okay, so you can do keratometry. When you do an examination with direct ophthalmoscope, you will find out that the disc of the patient is a little tilted. The optic disc of the patient is little tilted. Okay, so these are the signs which you can find out that in retinoscopy you will get different powers in different meridia. When you do a keratometry, you can actually numerically find out the curvature of the cornea in different meridia, and you will have a tilted disc. Also, sometimes these patients will try to tilt their head. So why they tilt their head? They are actually trying to bring their axis, the axis of abnormality, either to vertical or horizontal. So that is why they will try to tilt their heads also. Okay. So these are the signs. Okay, there are two more things which you can do for these patients, which you might get as MCQs. There's something called Jackson cross cylinders. Okay, you can use these Jackson cross cylinders to find out the axis and power. for the lens which is supposed to be prescribed to these patients. Okay, so you can use Jackson cross cylinders, and also you can use something which is called an astigmatic fan. Okay, I would like to point out to you with a different color that there's something called a duochromes test. Okay, this duochromes test is not used to check for astigmatism. This duochromes test, you might get as an MCQ, that it is used to refine the prescription of spectacles of a patient. Okay, after you've given spectacles to the patient, you can actually refine it more, okay, with the help of a duochromes test. So please do remember, this is also a question. Okay, now we come to the most interesting part of how do you treat this astigmatism. So in refractive errors, what we have been doing, we've been prescribing spherical lenses to the patient to actually correct the refractive error. However, you cannot give spherical lens to these patients. Why you cannot give spherical lens to these patients? Because I already spoke to you that you will have a cornea in which one meridian is different and the other meridian is different. So if you give a spherical lens to a patient, what will happen? The spherical lens will correct the refractive error. Suppose this is a +3 lens. It will give a +3 to all the meridia of this cornea. Okay, so obviously you are not able to correct because maybe this meridian needs more and this meridian needs a little less. So if you give the same kind of lens throughout the cornea, obviously this is not going to help the situation. So what are you going to do? You're going to do a different thing. You're going to give lenses, but you're going to give cylindrical lenses. Okay, so you must have guessed that these cylindrical lenses will have different power in different meridia. Okay, so what is a cylindrical lens? So you know what is a cylinder? Okay, this is a cylinder. So suppose you cut the cylinder from here, so what you'll get is something like this. Okay, so you know that one of the surface of the cylinder is a plane, but the other surface is actually curved. Okay, so one is a plane surface and the other surface is curved. So this surface can serve as a spherical lens, whereas this surface will be plane. So in one meridia there is no power, but in the other meridia there is all the power. So that is what is a cylindrical lens. Okay. So suppose I have this kind of a lens, what will happen? Suppose I have this kind of lens. So these can be considered as a lot of spherical lenses which are actually stacked together. So the light will come from all the points and they will form, suppose one point focus here, suppose one point focus here, here, here. So instead of forming one point focus, it's actually formed a line focus. Okay, and this line focus, if suppose this is the axis of the cylinder, okay, this is the axis of the cylinder, so this line focus is actually parallel to the axis of the cylinder. Okay, so the axis is parallel to the line focus. Okay, this is again a question that the axis is parallel to the line focus. And one more important thing you must remember is that the power of the lens, suppose I want a +3 lens. So if suppose this is the axis of the cylindrical lens, the power will always be 90 degree to it. Okay, so if I'm putting the axis of the lens as 90, the power will be acting at 180 degree. So suppose if I give a +3 lens at 90 degree, the power actually will be acting at +3. Okay, the power will actually be acting horizontally. The +3 will be actually at 180 degree rather than 90. Okay, so if you give, suppose another one more example I give. So if you want a lens again of +3 and if you want the power to be acting at 180 degree, you will actually put the axis as 90. Okay, and if you want a power to be acting at 90 degree, you actually have to give the axis as 180. Okay, so that is one thing which must be remembered. Okay, so cylindrical lenses are to be prescribed to these patients. get a lot of questions. So suppose if you have a patient and the patient has with the rule astigmatism, okay? So obviously I know that the vertical meridian and with the meridian with the rule astigmatism, with the rule astigmatism. So I know that the vertical meridian over here is steeper. Okay. So if I want to correct this astigmatism, this is steeper. So if I want to correct the astigmatism, I have to somehow neutralize this steep thing. Okay. So either I can give a minus cylinder at this meridian, or I can give a plus cylinder at this meridian to actually neutralize this kind of astigmatism. Okay, so as I already told you that the axis will be 90 degree to where I want power. So suppose I want a plus power here. Okay, so if I want to get plus here, I have to actually prescribe it at an axis which is at 90 degree. Okay, so if I have to give a plus power here, I have to actually prescribe it at 90 degree. So you need plus cylinder at 90 degree in these patients. Okay, fine. And you want minus cylinders at 180 degree for these patients. So vice versa will happen in case of against the rule astigmatism. Okay. So as I told you, if you want to give a plus here, you will actually have to prescribe plus cylinders at axis. Okay. So what are the various ways to correct this kind of astigmatism? For the better understanding, we can classify it as what you do in regular. In regular astigmatism, you can give spectacles to the patient. Okay. You can give contact lenses to the patient. Preferably should give rigid contact lenses, because rigid contact lenses are actually going to stick to the surface of the cornea and provide a different surface to the cornea. If you want to use soft contact lenses, they are not able to correct high refractive errors, they are not able to correct high astigmatism. So you need to give rigid contact lenses. Only a very small refractive error can be corrected with a soft contact lens. Okay. And I told you that you have to give cylindrical lenses in these patients. So the treatment is cylindrical lenses. Okay. So you can do this, or you also have the option of surgery. Okay. You can do surgical correction for these patients. So what are the surgeries which are available? You can do an astigmatic keratotomy. Okay. You can do an astigmatic keratotomy. You can do PTK, phototherapeutic keratectomy, you can do for these patients, and you can also do astigmatic LASIK for these patients. Okay. So these are the surgeries. So what is an astigmatic keratotomy? So suppose you have this cornea, this is a steeper meridian. In the mid periphery, you need to make transverse incisions. Okay, so this is actually going to neutralize the steepness, and this is going to correct your astigmatism. That is how you will do surgical correction for astigmatism. Now, I told you about regular management. Coming to how you will manage irregular astigmatism, I'll tell you. As I told you that irregular astigmatism usually occurs after maybe a corneal ulcer which has made the surface of the cornea very irregular, or it might occur after you've done a keratoplasty, that is actually you've changed the cornea altogether. So after that, this irregular astigmatism will be there. It is difficult to correct this kind of astigmatism with contact lenses also, because the surface of the cornea is quite irregular. So the main treatment which is there for this is that you can go for surgeries, the way I told you. you do surgery, or you can replace the surface. You can actually replace the cornea. You can do a keratoplasty. Okay. Contact lenses, if it's not very irregular, you can use a rigid contact lens, but a soft contact lens is a big no. You cannot use this. This is not going to help at all. So at max you can give a rigid contact lens. Main modality of treatment is either surgery, the surgeries which I told you, or you can do a keratoplasty. That is, you can actually change the cornea. You can actually take a donor cornea and you can suture it. Okay, so that is how you can help this condition. So herein we finished errors of refraction, finally astigmatism. Next lecture I will be taking about cornea. Thank you.